First of all, I mean, starting practice with the Italian trip, how much further ahead now are you at the start of this than you would have been?
Well, obviously, I hope we're further ahead. I don't know how much. I don't know. I think they have familiarity with some of the things that we're doing, wanting to. They're not very good at it, but at least they're familiar with it. Most of them.
Have you seen a lot of improvement since the summers? Obviously, you said back then that they were running into each other on the court, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, it's like anything else. Some of them pick it up quicker than others do. Some of them still kind of struggle, with things that we've done every day. But unfortunately, those guys probably won't play very much. But yeah, it's hard to when you've got 8 new guys, kind of. There's just bad things going on everywhere. When you have 2 or 3 freshmen like normally you do, then you kind of got Kevin Jones. He's fine. You got Truck, understands what he's doing. Dennis understands what he's doing. But there are times you've got 4 new guys, sometimes 5 new guys on one team, and it's just bad stuff going on everywhere, and you can't correct it all at one time. That's the hard part about having all the young guys. It's not that freshmen don't struggle some. I mean, really, when was it? I lose track of time. 3 years ago, I guess it was, with 3 freshmen in our top 6. It was just 3. If it was just 3, you'd be all right. We could figure it out. It's just right now, it's kind of difficult.
Coach, can you draw any comparisons to this learning process that you're going through with the kids this year compared to what you went through with your first year when you were talking about how you had to teach your system to the whole team?
No, because, those guys were coached before.
Right.
It was different, but they had a great understanding of how to back cut. They did different things with screens, but they were very familiar with screen. They did a great job of making the extra pass. John coaches them. It's different, but John's a heck of a coach. So they were a lot further ahead, and then they were mature. They were guys that had played before, had played in big situations before. A lot of them had played in the NIT championship. So I think those guys were much better prepared than what these guys are.
Bob, you said in the past that you liked walking out on the floor and the other guys and thinking we're better than they are.
That's a comforting feeling, yeah.
You're not going to do that many times this year. Is there something to be said for the challenge of overcoming that?
Not just as soon have it the other way. It's going to be a challenge. It's and I've talked about this a bunch, I know, but different people learn different ways, and certainly different people learn. Deshaun Butler had great aptitude to learn basketball. Devin Ebanks had great aptitude to learn basketball. John told me one time that Deshaun picked things up faster, in his system than I think anybody he'd ever had before. So we all have different aptitudes, and it's hard to tell that. When you go out to recruit guys, you basically go out and watch them in the AAU circles, and it's hard to figure out which guys have a great aptitude to learn, how quickly they can learn. They're all going to learn. It's just a matter of how quickly. And our schedule's hard. Oral Roberts is good. I've watched them, Oral Roberts, and they've got their top 7 7 score, I think top six scores back, and then I think their second leading scorer from the year before hurt his foot, so he's back. And they think this is one of the better teams that they've had. And then we go from there to Kent, who was very good. And then it's,
Well, this is a situation that calls for patience, yet they say the older you get, the less patience you have. How are you going to handle this? And hurry up with that answer, would you?
but, you know, as usual, Bob, I'm not like everybody else. I've had more patience as I've gotten older rather than less, in some areas. And I think on the floor areas. I have probably a little less patience in other areas, but I had no patience when I first started. No, absolutely none. I thought everybody ought to know what knew. Everybody should know what I know. And I've since learned that they don't. And really, we've had a lot of patience with them to this point. You know.
Ideally, what would you like to do with the truck? Is he a 2-guard if you ordered up?
We don't really have positions, but I'd like for him to have the ball less. I'd rather him be a receiver. I'd rather him be a catcher than a pitcher, you know, so to speak. He's our best perimeter shooter. I think he'll be our most consistent perimeter shooter. As I said the other day, he was miserable from the field to start the Big East. I mean, admittedly so. I think shooting 19%, somewhere in there. And then when we got him off the ball and really Joe had the ball more, he started making shots. And he just has less things to worry about, less things to think about, although he still has to help KJ, and KJ have to get people where they're supposed to be. But I think he's going to be a lot more productive for us offensively without having all the responsibilities of a point guard.
Speaking of point guards, Jabari Hines was the last year recruits to come in. He didn't get to go on the Italy trip. Is he catching up fine, or is he where you expect him to be right now?
Jabari really wants to learn. And, you know, I think we've been very fortunate here. We've got 3 great guys from Auburn. And I think Jabari will continue to be, you know, in the same line. He's the same kind of person that Lowe's and KJ have been. I mean, they're great people and great teammates. And he's catching up. I mean, it's just hard. I mean, those other guys had 10 practices, you know. Well, they had more than that because we practiced a little bit over there and played whatever it was, 5 games, I think. So he's behind, but he's picking things up.
This summer, you mentioned that one of the things you might want to do with this roster is play a little bit more up-tempo offensively. Through those practices you referred to and the overseas trip, do you feel like you have the tools in place to do that?
We run faster, but we're trying. You know, I don't know. That remains to be seen. I think it would behoove us to be able to play that way because I think we can score better that way. We can use our athleticism a little bit better that way. But our league ends up kind of being a grinded out league. I mean, you saw what happens if you look at the people who led our league in scoring. They were generally at the bottom of the standings. Our league is kind of a grinded out league, which we're going to have to get better at. But yeah, we do want to get easy baskets. Absolutely get easy baskets.
Coach, speaking of the Big East, what do you make of it without Pitt and Syracuse eventually?
Well, from what I understand, Pitt and Syracuse is going to be in for a while. So I don't think it doesn't change really. You know, from our standpoint, it doesn't change. They're going to be playing this year and next year. I don't know if it's a year after or not. So.
Is it disappointing at least to see the beginning of this breakup?
I don't know, man. You know, I'm thinking, probably in my my first 8 years at Cincinnati, I was in 3 different leagues. So I'm a veteran at league switching. Very accomplished at it. Actually, when I was at Akron, we won Division I football and got knocked out of Ohio Valley. I was an independent and then went to the Northeast Conference, which I never coached in. But I actually went from the Northeast Conference to the Mid-America and never played a game in the Northeast Conference. So.
Does it in a way